Good afternoon. My name is Tom Stutzman, and as before me, I'm also a candidate for United States Senate. Little background about myself. I grew up in a business family. My parents are restaurateurs. I have uncles that ran slaughterhouses and florist shops and real estate companies. So, like when our family got together, it was never a discussion of how are your benefits at your job coming. It was all about business and economics, and that's what I grew up learning. I've been self-employed for a dozen years. I have a couple degrees from OSU, fisheries and wildlife management degree both. Spent a few years as a junior biologist and also worked at the EPA for a few years doing research. So I have a strong science background as well. But the reason I got into the Senate race, there's two of them. The first is the business climate, and the second is accountability. The gentleman before me have brought up Wyden's accountability record, and it's terrible. I went to 7 of his open meetings that he had just before I decided to run, and you would ask him a question and he would sidestep around it and dance through it, and at the end of the day, that's not what we need. What we need as individuals in Oregon is honest answers from honest people. And I've spent time with all 5 of the guys here tonight and at other forums, and you know what? You can't go wrong by voting for any of us. I mean, we all seem to be ethical, honest guys, and we're going to tell you straight up what we believe. The main thing, though, that I believe that we need to address, well, actually, there's 2 of them. The first one is business. One of the things that we need to make sure we need to do is we need to make sure that we have the Bush tax cuts and make them permanent. See, part of what business needs is they need a stable business climate. And you can never run a business as long as you have people, senators, congressmen, at both the state and the federal level coming along and changing the rules on you all the time. You see, this cap and trade bill and the health care bill and everything else that they've been proposing for the last 18 months, I mean, businesses aren't going to expand. They're not going to risk their own capital. They're not going to risk their time and energy and effort to expand their businesses if they don't know what the future holds. I mean, does that make sense to any of you? I mean, it sure doesn't to me. What we need to do is we need to create a stable business climate for the people in Oregon to run their businesses. We need to make the Bush tax cuts permanent. I was at a town hall meeting. I was over in Eastern Oregon the last couple of days, and I happened to meet Senator Merkley at a town hall meeting yesterday in Baker City. He seems to think, much like Ron Wyden does, that you can keep taxing people and you can keep adding things on to our plates and taking more freedoms away from us and more money away from us, and that's going to create jobs. I'm here to tell you it's not going to do that. Okay? We need to make those Bush tax cuts permanent. We also, if you look at my website, I have proposed that we actually make them bigger. Okay? We take the top 2 brackets and we cut them down 5% more. We take the middle 2 brackets and cut them down 4% more, and the bottom 2, 3% more. What that does, ladies and gentlemen, it gives those people at the top of the income bracket more of their own money. And I know it's not politically correct to say give the rich a tax cut, okay? However, those people at the top of the economic scale, those are the ones that take their own money and put it at risk to start new businesses, to invent new products, to put their money into the stock market, into other companies where they can use that money to invest in and make new businesses. We also need to take the capital gains rate and we need to eliminate it. On my website, I've proposed we eliminate it for 3 years. And we do that for the exact same reason. Why does it make sense for one of my clients, I sell real estate these days, why does it make sense for one of my clients to sell one of his properties, pay the government 15% of that money that he makes, and then go reinvest it? Why not let him take that whole pile of money and go and reinvest it into a new product, a new company, a new service, and a new business? Why does the government need 15% of that? In my opinion, they don't. We need to allow American corporations with foreign operations to repatriate some of their foreign profits. Companies like Nike that have operations overseas in Asia and around the world, allow them to bring their foreign profits back into this country. This was done in 2004 and 2005. It brought $500 billion back into this country. Now we keep hearing that the credit markets are tight and banks aren't lending. That may be so. But why not give the companies their own money that they have other places around the world, bring it back here to start jobs here? create businesses and economics here. What we also need to do is we need to eliminate the death tax. Now, the death tax specifically hurts small businesses and family farmers. You know, most of the farmers that I know, I live in a small town a little west of Salem. I know a bunch of farmers. You know, they've had their farms and their families for years, 10, 20, 30, 50 years. And they bought those properties when they were very cheap. But nowadays, if the 50% death tax comes upon them, most farmers can't make enough to pay off their farms at the 50% tax rate. So why does it make sense to have them, require them to sell their farms just to pay off a little bit of tax? Let them keep their family farms and their family businesses and keep them running and creating jobs for America and Oregon. Additionally, we need to have a comprehensive energy policy that also goes back to the stable business climate that we need in our country. You see, as long as gas rates keep going up and energy rates keep going up and we have the threat of a cap and trade system in front of us, businesses will not expand. And those that require large amounts of energy, like aluminum smelters and steel mills, I mean, they can't keep in business. I mean, it's not possible if gas is $4 or $5 or $6 a gallon. You know, and I know it's not popular probably today to talk about drilling more with what's going on in the Gulf. But you know what? That's okay. You see, I'm not someone that's going to sit here and sidestep main issues, big issues, because I think it's unpopular. We need to drill more regardless of what happened in the Gulf today or last week. We need to have a strong source of energy inside of our country. That doesn't make sense for us to spend $1 billion a day giving that money to Venezuela and other countries around the world that may not particularly like us. Let's get our energy from here. We have some great technology at Oregon State that they're introducing new nuclear power plants, new nuclear technologies. I mean, France runs 80% of its electrical use on nuclear power. And China is actually bringing online one nuclear power plant every 20 days. With new technology, that stuff can be, with the new technology, that can be a reliable source of energy, and it's actually very clean and very green for the most part. And then finally, accountability. One of the things that our senators back east seem to fail to let us know is the things that affect us in our daily lives that happen back east. I mean, how many of you in this room right now know that about 3 months ago that HUD proposed to eliminate all owner financing of properties other than your family-owned home? Anybody? Not one single person in the room. Well, it's a fact. HUD has proposed that you guys are not allowed to sell your properties any way you choose unless you're actually your personal residence. If you have an investment property, unless you're a licensed mortgage broker, you are no longer going to be able, if they go through the final rules process, you will no longer be able to sell that property yourself and finance it yourself. Now, does it make sense that we've got 7 people back east that are supposed to represent us in the House and the Senate, and none of us knew about that? Nobody let any of us know, because that could be a huge thing that happens down the road. It affects how we have our properties and how we sell our properties. And you know, 99% of what happens back east, we never hear about. We hear about the big things, cap and trade. We hear about the health care bill. But there's regulation upon regulation upon regulation that happens back east, and we don't hear about it. For that reason, I've proposed a couple things that I will do on your behalf. I will make sure that I am available for radio interviews by talk show hosts 3 days a week, so you guys can ask me questions anytime you want to. I'll make sure I have an online blog that lets you know everything that I hear about back east that will affect Oregon. I will I'll hold a town hall meeting, and I know this has been talked about earlier. I will hold a town hall meeting in every county in Oregon, and unlike Mr. Wyden, I'll actually answer questions and actually give the people out in the rural areas a vote instead of just a visit. And then finally, I would like to propose one thing. That we make the first law that I would propose is that we make a requirement to have all spending bills that go through the Senate to be online for 5 days, plus 3 days for every 100 pages, so we have time as individuals and senators to review those documents before we have to vote on them. I'm Tom Stutzman. I look forward to talking with you after the meeting. Thank you and have a great day.